Hello and good afternoon, everybody. We will get started shortly. I just want to give a moment for everybody to join, to go on mute, to get settled in and ready for the bumper-filled session that we have planned for you today. We are really delighted that we have got such a great lineup of co-hosts and experts joining us at Youth Employment UK today. And we are so delighted that so many of you have made some time in your diary, but also in Youth Employment Week to understand and kind of allow us to support you with some of the tools and free resources available to support student success. So I'm Laura Mistry. I'm the Deputy CEO at Youth Employment UK. I know from the guest list and from the participant room that is filling up that some of you will be big fans, long-time supporters of Youth Employment UK, and you may have come into contact with some of our services and programmes before. And for others, I know that you will be new to us. It's not my role today to talk about our resources. I'm so delighted that our new senior education lead, Olivia, will be joining as part of this session. What I will just share with you is a little bit about how the day will run. Please, as you join, please mute your microphone. I am an inherently nosy person. If you have a dog and I can hear it barking, I'm going to need to know their name and if you fed them yet. So please keep your microphone muted. It is distracting when you are trying to present to a room of people, even if it is online. We do, though, and we will give the opportunity for questions and answers after the presentation part of this session. We also encourage you to use the chat box too. My team and led by Kat will be in the chat, putting in links, bringing vibes and just general joy to this moment too. If you do have difficulty hearing, please message Kat. If you've got any problems, let us know. What I do know is your first question will be, will we share the slides? Yes, we will. We are recording today's session. It will be part of the resources and tools on our website, and we will have the slides and information available to you too. We won't penalise you for asking that question continuously throughout the session, but it helps if we cover it from the very beginning. Also, from a feedback perspective, when this webinar closes, there will be a short form sent out to you. This form will ask you what you liked about today's session, what you think we could improve, and what sessions you want to see more of. For this group of educators, actually, we provide all of these services for free. So if there's something you do want to hear about, this is your moment. Please ask us. Our marketing team worked really hard to deliver the content in these sessions. Hearing what you loved about it and how we could improve really makes a difference to how our services evolve moving forward. In terms of today's session, I will show you my fabulous lineup of speakers in a second. We are exploring today free resources that help young people and prepare them for the world of work and the difficult kind of pathways and decisions that feel forever changing if you work across the policy landscape at the moment. We will be bringing you practical ways to use these resources, how you can embed them, the flexibility that should form part of them, and how you can get started or how you can embed them into your existing provision and programme. It is Youth Employment Week this week. I was saying to our speakers just before we started, I hope you can't move, breathe, do anything on LinkedIn without seeing a post about Youth Employment Week and from us, from our sponsors, and from the hundreds of businesses and individuals that are getting involved. Youth Employment Week is Youth Employment UK's campaign around supporting opportunities for all. We can only do this with the support of our sponsors, Barclays LifeSkills, Atkins Realis, the Enterprise Company, the West Midlands Combined Authority and NCFE, some of which you will hear from today. Youth Employment Week is 5 days of activity centred around young people and how we can support them to engage. Today is all about discovering careers and the perfect opportunity to share with you some of the ways in which you can do that. Today we'll run with 4 amazing speakers, powerhouse of women coming at you from across this moment. So we will kick off with Emma from Barclays LifeSkills. We'll move on to hear from Marie from the Careers and Enterprise Company, Emsy's going to join us from NCFE, and Olivia is going to close the day with, I hope, confetti cannons, etc., to talk to you a little bit about how that can come together as a young professional provider at Youth Employment UK. That is me and my role for now. Like I said, I'm going to hand over to Emma shortly. Please pop questions in the chat or hold them from the session. We're going to hear from all of our speakers first, and then we're going to allow you to kind of come on in and join us across here too. So I'm going to stop sharing, and I'm going to invite Emma Austin, Senior Programme Manager from Barclays, to the table.
Hi, hello everybody. Really delighted to be here today to the Youth Employment Week. We're hoping to be able to give you a bit of an overview of all our free resources. It's always lovely to have free things in education and aspects to help with planning as well. So I'll just give you, I'm sure a lot of you are familiar with Barclays LifeSkills, but hopefully there'll be some elements today that I can cover off, which are new insight for you. So I'll just rattle through what we've got, and hopefully there'll be some questions in the chat which I can answer later. So ultimately, our program's here to give young people the skills and confidence for today's rapidly changing environment and work environment. We are, as workers, we're keeping pace of it as well. It's like AI is hot on our feet, and there's lots of different things which we're trying to keep pace of. So our resources are very much designed for all ages, from young people age 5 in primary schools to secondary schools to adults and families as well. But
Emma,
for today,
Emma, so can I just interrupt you? Your mic is really crackly. I don't know if you can take it out and use it. It's fine in the build-up, but now it's causing us trouble. The cracking has stopped, but so has all sound. So we'll just
okay.
Oh no, there you are. You're there.
I'm just going to turn it down a little bit. That might actually stop some of the crack. Is that a bit better from a sound check perspective? Or is it still crackling?
It's still crackling. It is still crackling for the time being.
When I put my headphones out, you couldn't hear me.
If you don't mind just trying again, because maybe you just might.
Okay, might be a time.
No, we can't hear. You might just need to flip your mic on your thing. Live, I was going to say live TV, live webinars, everybody. Always the way. And our sound check.
I don't think I can stop the crackling, I'm afraid. Sorry. I'm sorry, I can't stop the crackling.
I'll tell you what, if we move on to our next week, if we move on to Marie, and I'll see if Kat can chat with you in the background. Is that okay? So if we just flip the order around, and we'll see what we can do to come back, because I do want everyone to hear about Barclays LifeSkills, but I know how distracting that will be. So I'll share the slides again, we'll move on, but Kat, if you can just support with that if possible, that will be fantastic. Fab. Okay, thank you. Sorry about that, Emma. I know we practice, we did all the things we're supposed to do, and sometimes that is just the way. Fab. Marie, please.
Well, thank you so much. Hopefully we can get back to Emma, but I'll swoop in. My name is Marie Jobson. I'm Senior Education Manager for Quality and Content. I've worked in this space for many moons, having been a careers leader in the original Gatsby pilot. So it's quite timely. It's another exciting time in the world of careers. Definitely a time to pause and reflect on the progress of the previous 10 years since the launch of the benchmarks, but also to gather that momentum and prepare for the next 10 years. So there is absolutely clear ambition within the updates to put careers at the heart of education leadership and to really make sure that learner outcomes, and we talk a lot of Careers and Enterprise Company about planning for your learners as leavers. What is it that they need to know, understand, and be able to do to make successful transitions for when they leave your provision? So the work around putting careers at the heart of education leadership and putting that whole young person at the heart of education leadership really builds on work that is long started within Careers and Enterprise Company and absolutely across our careers hubs nationally as well. I'm really conscious there is a lot to navigate at the moment. There's a lot happening. It is an exciting time. It's really important to remember that we are building on progress already made. And I think I've heard a lot of colleagues use this phrase, but it is evolution and not revolution. So there is significant amount of resource and support available to you from Careers and Enterprise Company. And in the next 2 minutes, my aim is to signpost you to the most important bits. So the next slide has the resource and support that I really want to kind of hone in on. All of our resource and support is free. It is designed primarily for careers leaders, but we do have a wealth of resource for teachers, wider education workforce, education leaders, governors, SENCOs, and a wealth of resources as well on parent and carer engagement. But our primary audience is careers leaders, so it's more about that kind of planning, what systems and processes to build. So the key page that I want to direct you to with that lovely QR code is a new page on our resource directory for meaningful achievement of the Gatsby benchmark page. In there, you will find a link to a video. It's multi-stakeholder, the video. It's a video about the updated Gatsby benchmarks. There are some updated Gatsby benchmark toolkits. There's statutory guidance at a glance guides for education and careers leaders. And there's a link to our free digital academy where there's all kinds of courses, including meaningful achievement of the Gatsby benchmarks on there. The digital academy that you can find via that page was launched in January. It's got short modules for careers leaders, but that's where a lot of our resource for teachers, education leaders, SENCOs, and wider education workforce sits as well. So that QR code will take you to that key page. You can see in the tiny font on the slide as well, there's a wealth of how-to guides. So for really thinking about that journey that would take learners through while they're with you, what do they need to know, understand, be able to do by the time they leave you? There's a wealth of how-to guides about the building of your provision, including work experiences and employer encounters, etc., and careers in the curriculum. So just to kind of finish, the final slide is a checklist that we've developed for careers leaders. You may have seen it before. Direct links are on this slide, but the QR code on the previous slide takes you to all of these places. So my checklist and summary for this most important of weeks in this most exciting of times is do take a moment to read and understand the statutory guidance via the summaries, one for schools, special schools, one for FE. Do access that free module on meaningful achievement of the benchmarks. If you haven't heard of an internal leadership review, please do explore what they are and get involved. That is really about driving a strategic approach to careers leadership. Take a moment, if you are a careers leader working in a school, to complete your final compass. This is a real opportunity to celebrate that progress and take that breath for what has been achieved over the last decade. And then, and only then, take a moment to learn more about the work experience and the government's future vision for modern work experience, because that really evolves from and builds from everything else. And find that when you're ready to find it. Don't panic about that. Great, and I'm here for questions, and hopefully we can go back and hear about Barclays LifeSkills.
Brilliant, thank you. So a lot of summer reading then. There's a lot of moments we've got to take, but really a really exciting opportunity for careers leaders, for young people to really be thinking about careers and putting it at the heart of where it needs to be too. So thank you so much. I always love the Careers and Enterprise Company resources. We have also supported and worked together with the Careers and Enterprise Company to revamp our home education resources too. So if you are somebody somebody that is working with young people who are home educated or home educated for a short period of time, there is so much help and support as part of that hub too, which is brilliant. We will check in. Let's check in and see how we are getting on mic wise across here too. Emma, are you ready? I'm terrified. Are you ready to join us?
I am, but I don't know if it's been solved. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, I'm delighted. Yeah.
Well, that's just brilliant. Sorry about the glitch there. So I don't know what you were able to hear the first time. So we are LifeSkills. We provide more than 150 hours of curriculum content to help students develop their employability and money skills, and it's all through our website. We centre a lot of our focus around the core transferable skills, such as problem solving and communication. We've got a set of 7-8 skills, just so students can keep pace with the world of work. These skills are transferable across any job or any industry. So it really is kind of like whatever job they're going for in the future, it's going to help sustain that. And then basically it's really easy through the website. You basically just select the category, the age group you're working with, we've got lesson plans, we've got slides, we've got worksheets, films, etc., etc. They cover the key themes such as understanding the range of careers and sectors and how skills link to them, the building aspirations and making plans for the future. Obviously, I've talked about developing and leveraging core transferable skills. That's part and parcel of everything that we do. Taking those practical steps to prepare for work, harnessing the values and behaviours in the workplace, and then all the skills that you need from a financial education perspective, from budgeting to financial independence to fraud and scams, investments. We're hearing a lot of young people are interested in things like cryptocurrency, so it's just like broadening their horizons as to actually let's get them on the right footing with things like that. So because we've got so much content on the website, we're very conscious that we've got a lot for you to work through. So what we've recently done is created a useful guide to a curated pathway for our content to really cover the themes that I've just talked about. So we've got these schemes of learning which support students in building the skills. So they start from age 5 right the way through to 19, and they're chunked into the various age groups and key stages. That they are ready-made. We're very aware that obviously you will want to build your own schemes of learning. So even if they're there to be used as inspiration to fit in with what other aspects you're working on, I think it's a really good starting place. So I can drop those links into the chat in a moment once I've finished. But they're covered in planned sequences, allowing students to progress so they can revisit these key themes either however many times you're able to offer these kind of sessions, whether that's termly, whether it's twice a year, depends on how your school organisation work. So yeah, that's a quick tour of what we've got. And as I say, I will drop some aspects into the chat. I think the schemes of learning really do help to take away a great degree of the planning and time. So as I say, lean on these free resources as much as you possibly can. And as I say, we're always really really happy to hear on what else, into our inbox, what else you'd like to see, if there's any gaps, etc., etc.
Brilliant. Thank you so much, Emma. That was so worth waiting for. Thank you for joining too. And how odd how technology teases us in those ways and moments. Thank you. I'm looking forward to seeing the resources. My 6-year-old calls adverts pop-ups already, like adverts on TV pop-ups. Not quite. Because it's quite got
yeah, we cover those kind of things off. So yeah, on the financial education side.
Fab. Amazing. Thank you so much. And next up, we're going to hear from NCFE. Emzy, do you want to come on screen and share more?
Absolutely. Yeah. Can you hear me okay? Okay, so afternoon everyone. My name's Emzy and I'm the Product Manager for Adult Education and Training at NCFE. As well as this role, I'm currently a practicing lecturer and I've taught in FE and outreach and forest schools and other bits and pieces as well. So, I'm very passionate about education and lifelong learning. Obviously, I'm coming from an adult perspective today, but in order to get to that point, starting early and supporting young people with life skills and employability, that's what sets people up to be adaptable, successful, and have options open to them when they do get ready for the workforce. So that's really important for us to be able to, really focus on lifelong learning. And as Marie mentioned a little bit earlier there, it's looking at learners as leavers from that perspective as well. Obviously, caring for them while they're there, but keeping in mind as well that there's something that happens afterwards. It's setting them up for success in the future. I have the next slide, please. Background to NCFE, if anyone's not familiar, head offices are up here in Newcastle upon Tyne, but we offer qualifications all across the UK and internationally as well. We're an awarding organisation, got a 175-year history, but we're also a charity. So we do quite a lot of focus on actually making sure that what we're delivering and the support that we're giving to our learners is the right thing to be providing to them, the best fit for industry and to set them up for success in the future. Our best known qualifications are probably within the Cash brand, and within the last few years as well, we've also joined with Active IQ. So we have a lot of sport in that area as well now. But our main remit is vocational qualifications and technical learning. And we have everything from tiny little standalone skills units you can do as a one-off to help you upskill in something particular, right up to things like level 5s. My area is mainly level 1, 2 and 3. And we work from young people from 14 right up to professionals in the workplace looking to do a little bit of training and development. We can have the next one, please. And just our broad offering, you can broadly split our offering out into technical education, so for young people, apprenticeships or workforce training, and learning for work or our adult learners. So a large number of our courses are funded through different channels. You can find information on the website for that. But obviously thinking about employability today, it is worth mentioning that we do have some employability skills qualifications at level 1, level 2, and they're focused around things like communication, teamwork, and other transferable skills. But we also do qualifications in things as diverse as cyber, business administration, warehousing, retail. I think the main thing to get across is it doesn't have to be an employability qualification to be suitable for employability skills for learners. It is about that integrated link, and it's about thinking of every program as having the opportunity to offer the ability to have some element, if not a lot of elements of employability within them. The next slide. And just away from the qualifications, and obviously focus here being an education lens, I want to flag some of our other services that we offer. So through our Skills Builder platform, we have diagnostic assessments for English and maths, and those are based on the new national standards. They can help meet learners where they're at for their own development pathways. And then Cash Alumni. So it's a professional membership service, and the basic membership doesn't have any cost involved in that, particularly for anyone who's teaching in childcare, education, youth work, sort of our cash aligned areas. We do have a lot of resources that are available here, and we are growing our content coverage as well. There are sort of tools and structured training within it at a cost, but the basic function, the basic package is completely free, and there's no obligation to get anything in addition if you don't want to do any courses in addition. There's a podcast on there, which is great. It's really nice to listen to. Actually, the team who run it are fantastic. And the one thing I wanted to really flag is a job search functionality through a tool that's called Skills Miner. So as well as the search feature where you can search for available jobs, it also helps learners to identify what their current skill sets are and gaps that they currently have. And that sort of equips them to be able to self-serve and to work out how to get to where they want to be for themselves. Sort of thinking back to the good old days when you're back at school and they would sit you down and you do a little questionnaire and say, this is what I'm good at. And they'd say, this is your job. It's a little bit like that, but a lot more flexible. And it's not telling them this is your job. It's giving them the tools to be able to identify what jobs they might like to go on to find out more about. So if you've ever sat with a group of learners, I have in a work experience session, and they've told you they don't know what skills they have or they don't have any skills. This sort of gives a way to pull out those skills and to help them self-identify actually what they are good at or what they might like to go into in the future. So it can be a really helpful tool to be able to get them to look towards future work. And then in terms about other resources and services that we offer, without cost. So we've got blogs, thought leadership pieces, we've got our YouTube channel. So we're just going through at the moment on the YouTube channel. We've got things like teaching and learning using Canva. We've got music. We've got a really interesting one that I've just watched on supporting communication in classrooms when it comes to people who stammer. So there's a lot of really interesting and diverse resources that we put up there free of charge as well. And just to mention our Assessment Innovation Fund as well, we work directly with educators on new and innovative ideas to be able to support teaching and learning every year as well. And that's me. If you would like to get in touch, that's the website. But of course, you can get details here as well.
Thank you so much, Enzi. Fascinating. So much, so many questions. I can't wait for that session. We have got though one more speaker, last but by no means least. We want to share with you some more information about Youth Employment UK and our services. Olivia, are you there?
Yeah, here I am. Good afternoon. I appreciate we've got obviously quite a lot of our educator community here, so you've probably seen my name, seen my emails floating around, but this is me, Olivia Downs. I joined the team in April as the Senior Youth Engagement and Careers Lead. So please feel free to get in touch to chat. I'm really looking forward to kind of meeting everybody and kind of building up that relationship with you all. So I'm hoping this is something that you're all aware of, but I like to shout about it at every given occasion. So the main offering that we have here at Youth Employment UK, kind of especially for you guys as educators, is what we call the Young Professional Programme. And it's a set of free interactive courses. It's for ages 14 up, and they are completely free for young people to use. And they cover a plethora of different topics. So they take young people all the way through. So for example, you can see here, they're preparing for your future, ages 14 to 16. It takes them through that initial stages of like Emzy was just saying, kind of identifying what skills do they have, what are their options going forward, and helping them to kind of build their confidence. And that kind of starts from that first kind of initial course. And then we go through to the journey to work, which is ages 17 plus. But I will say that these ages are just a guide. If you have groups of learners that you think are, you might have older learners, but you think they need to start, they're preparing for work. You might have younger learners that you think are ready to do the journey to work. It's totally up to you, kind of the way that you as an educator, as a leader, would like your learners to use these courses if you would like to. So the ages are just a guide. It's not a compulsory set of kind of what we're saying they have to complete. But again, the journey to work starts all the way through, starting just kind of the first module is actually called You and Your Needs. So it's actually going back to the young people to ask them and kind of figure out what do they want, what are they hoping to gain through this journey to work. And it takes them through, again, kind of just starting from building up their confidence and resilience and learning about skills like communication and active listening. And then it goes through into the more practical, like how to write a CV, how to prepare for an interview. And it goes all the way through the journey to work course, all the way through to what their maybe first week in a job is going to look like. What does the induction process look like? All the way through, we're hoping, to the end of their first year in their career. So it takes them all the way through that journey. A couple of other courses as well. These have all been created in collaboration with CEC. So we have the Exploring Apprenticeships, which is a great module that we recommend for all kind of post-16 students to kind of have a think about, especially to explore their options, like we're saying, making sure they're aware of all of their pathways. What's a fantastic resource that I think could be really useful for a lot of people, a lot of young people, is the In Apprenticeships course. So for those young people who are completing their apprenticeships now, we have an entire online course that can be embedded into part of their qualification, part of the programme, for them to complete alongside their apprenticeship. So some really fantastic content there. And then finally, as Lauren already mentioned, we have just completely refreshed and revamped our home education, exploring skills and careers offering too. So that it kind of incorporates some of the elements of the preparing for your future, the journey to work, the exploring apprenticeships. It brings it all together in an incredibly accessible, SEND friendly format. So again, if any of you kind of are in that world of home education, I'd really recommend having a look there. And again, it's all free to use. Can I have my next slide? Thank you so much. So a couple of other things about the Young Professional Programme. They are all mapped against the Gatsby benchmark, CDI and the Skills Builder framework. So in terms of they're ticking a lot of those boxes. And the Young Professional courses are available on our website. They're not behind a paywall. Young people literally just have to put in some details and they can access them for free. so they can use them independently at their own pace, or because they are mapped against this, we also have lesson plans to go alongside them all that you can then use them to embed them into your existing careers programs that you might already have. And the way that we'd recommend that you do that, and what we'd really encourage all of you to do, is to sign up to join us as what we call a young professional provider. So this is a free membership that you get to join kind of our careers education community, and you get all the perks, which I'm going to go through in a couple of seconds. But it also means that you can kind of sign up your groups of young people, your learners, to use the young professional courses in a way that suits you and the way that you can kind of control the way that they're going to progress through the course. So you get group management, so you can assign groups in lots of different ways. You can see I've listed down the bottom here. You can track their progress, so you can see kind of if you want to assign it as homework, you want to give a lesson per module, for example, you can track the progress throughout there, and then you get the reporting prospects at the end of that too. So if you wanted to take that forward into the next year, for example, you can see kind of what worked, what didn't work, and you can take that forward as well. Thank you, Lauren. So, couple of other things that we have I love to shout about Youth Employment UK and what we've got on offer is another fantastic resource that we have is our careers guides. There are currently 18 on our website, and I mean you scroll through, the list goes on and on, and there's 18 of these kind of career hubs. But then within each hub of each career, so you can see, for example, there's business administration, there's one for creative careers, there's one for hair and makeup careers, there's genetics, there's loads of different areas. And within each of those, they then have job profiles. There's kind of career hub, job profiles. Each hub has at least 12 job profiles. Some of them have up to 20 job profiles. And you can see I've just listed here everything that is included in those job profiles. So I know that you have, some of you might have learners of all kind of, they might have a general idea of like, yeah, I think I want to work in the NHS. I think, yeah, I know I want to do something creative. I know I want to be an engineer. But this just kind of helps them to narrow it down. So it talks about what the job is, what they do day to day, average salaries, which can be quite important to a lot of young people. It also talks about what training, what qualifications they'll need, what other similar jobs are out there that are like it, so it can kind of take them off in their own journey to go and explore it. And then it has kind of a bunch of useful links and organisations to kind of help them kind of just start their journey of exploring that career and helping them kind of figure out what are their next steps, what are they going to need to complete. So the career guides, I think if you're asking young people to kind of take a look at the website, this is a really great place for them to start, I would say. Next, please. Okay, so as I said, I'm asking all of you to sign up to join our careers education community. It's free. I'm going to say that every time. It's free. And you can join just as an individual. Like you right now can go on the website and sign up and start using all of these free resources. If you decide you want to do that, to just play around by yourself for a little while, and then you'd like to join us as a young professional provider, that's absolutely fine. You literally just drop me an email. I'll send you the application form. Case closed. You're there as a young professional provider, and these are all the things that you're going to get access to. So there are things, and this is just signing up as an individual even, and you get things like all the free lesson plans that I mentioned. There's all the, alongside the career guides, we then equally, if young people would like to be more led by the business, the organization that they want to work for, all of our youth-friendly employers also then have their own profiles too. So depending on what is more of a priority to young people in their search, they have options either way, which is really useful. There's things like careers posters that you can put up in the staff room, you can put up in the sixth form centre, IT rooms, all of these resources to be shared. Tons and tons of CV advice, and alongside that we also have things like workshop and assembly content that you can deliver, or you can invite me to come in and deliver on for your students or your learners too. We have the Opportunity Finder, which is our job board, but it also shares things like internships, apprenticeships, training opportunities, events. So much available. Obviously, I mentioned the young professional courses, but our other online courses are virtual work experiences. These, again, are kind of 1 hour. It's a video and then a workbook. There are workbooks for both Key Stage 3 and Key Stage 4 for each of the work experiences, as well as a free lesson plan for you to embed it into a careers program. So this time of year especially, we've had quite a lot of members of the community using it as replacement. So maybe for groups of students who weren't able to secure face-to-face work experience, they've then been using our virtual work experiences as replacement lessons during that time that other students are out on work experience. So they're really helpful. I'd really recommend taking a look there too. And then finally, if we do have then the kind of going in, exploring all of our options, then we've got the apprenticeships guides too. So I appreciate that was a lot of information in a really short amount of time. But basically, there's a lot and it's free and it's really helpful. Please get in touch with me if you want me to kind of go through a guide with you to break it all down and we'll pick what's most useful for you, etc. Please let me know. I'm very happy to help. Thank you, Laura.
Brilliant. Thanks, Olivia. Just one question. Is it free?
It's free. Guys, I don't know if you heard. It's free.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Olivia. And now I'm sure all of you still on the call are overwhelmed with information and insight. We're just going to bring our speakers back to the screen shortly. And I just want to break out kind of a couple of questions. Do use the chat box. Do put in any questions that you might have. I can see all the links going in and all of the information going in there too, which is good. I just wanted to start in terms of questions, and I think if we can start with the Careers and Enterprise Company, please, and maybe Olivia, you too. But we know that resources across education and careers leaders are stretched. We know the kind of work and understanding sometimes put into those teams and some of the complex kind of needs and pastoral needs that young people have. With that in mind, what's the biggest opportunity? Like, what's the biggest bang for your buck in terms of, as a careers leader, if you're thinking about what to start in September, or what I don't know how much longer is left of time, not very long. But if you're thinking about like one thing you could do in September, where would you start? What was the first thing you'd do, Marie? I'll come in first.
It's a great question, isn't it? Because I think there's so much going on with updates, new stat guidance. And we're all in this to make a difference to young people. And I think the risk is that we feel then the pressure is to do more. But I think where I would take my answers quite into a different place. I mentioned the internal leadership review really briefly. It is free. It is a process that we encourage schools, special schools, colleges. There is a version for ITPs being trialled through our community of improvement for ITPs as well, where it's an opportunity as an institution to think, what is it we want to achieve? And potentially, it's that beauty about potentially achieving more by doing less. So I know I said it earlier about just be kind to yourselves. So take that moment, breathe. There are changes. We've got a blueprint now for the next 10 years, but take a breath and think about, what is it we really need to be doing as an organisation? It can't all be on one person. We support careers leaders, but they can't achieve this on their own. So it's about looking for, as an organisation, what do you want to achieve for young people? What do you want them to know, understand, be able to do? What can you say no to, therefore? So I really would, if you haven't done an internal leadership review of your careers leadership provision yet, then take that moment just to be kind to yourselves.
Brilliant, thank you. Olivia, do you want to come in next? I'm going to come to you, MZ and Emma as well. Just official warning. But you will come to. And Olivia, yeah. In terms of where to start, obviously we know from things like our Youth Voice Census where young people's struggles are. So, like, what's the one article, the one thing, the one place you'd suggest?
I do kind of from experience, and I kind of would take from what Marie said actually in terms of taking just time. A lot of what we see from the census is young people not having the confidence and the skills that they've got. So, and we know that there's a bit of a gap between what young people are getting from their education and kind of what employers are looking for. So I think any resources, like Marie said, kind of anything you can take off your own plate. So taking things for free. If someone else is offering to do something for you, someone is offering a resource, that means they can do it for you instead, to help bridge that gap in terms of the employability skills and the careers information that young people are getting to help them in those next steps are always going to be kind of the most useful steps, I would say. So, for example, I had a conversation with one of my young professional providers literally this week saying that she's planned literally every module that each of the young people are going to do in her year 12, year 13 groups, for example, kind of, 3 modules per term. That's what's done, dusted, sorted. She knows that she can kind of rely on the fact that that's going to get done, and it's one less thing that then she's got to think about. So I think, like Marie was saying, kind of taking moments back for yourselves as educators and careers leaders to just say, if someone's offering something for free, take it.
MZ, do you have some advice from kind of an NCFE perspective?
I think that's been some great advice so far, to be honest. Yeah, I think definitely if there are free resources that you can integrate into something that you're already doing, and those are quality resources, then absolutely. But it seems like a no-brainer, to be honest, building that into your offering. If I was filtering it down to just one area, I'd say the thing that we want to do is align the innovation, the inclusion. It's aligning it with industry and starting from the workforce and the employer side up, rather than putting something in place and sort of trying to make it fit. For young people, post-16 qualifications, things that have been designed from the beginning with industry partners on board, it's a really good way to go. We've been working on reform qualifications that are coming out next month now, 1st of August, and other AOs will be doing the same as well. So there's a lot of new offering in the area, coming out this August to keep an eye on. But even in the qualifications that are already there, it's not necessarily, making the switch. It's about embedding that employability, the personal development, and also the digital skills as well, which are obviously a really hot topic. Not just to get everyone signed up to a digital qualification, but it's about threading it through. It might be something like changing the way that you do formative assessment tasks, or pulling through those transferable skills, or getting a guest speaker. I know that's always a challenging thing to do, but it might be something online. It might be a little webinar snippet. It might be something to bring in and just give it the real world experience that learners need to be able to see how that's helping them get into the workplace, to give it that context.
Brilliant. Emma?
I think it's really just reiterating the points that everyone's made, to be fair. I mean, from our perspective, the biggest opportunity is closing the skills gap. It doesn't get any more simple than that. Although I know it's not simple in practical sense. Businesses are struggling to recruit young people. Young people are more likely to be unemployed. Sorry, I'm not trying to end on a doom and gloom, but that's the reality of what we're up, the society's like at the moment. So I think it's really, that's why we built the curated journeys and the sequence learning. So it's kind of like, pull off for your age group, just go to the schemes of learning, pull off what's relevant, what age group you're working with, or across the whole school, and you can maybe look at what across all the different programs, what you can gain from each of them as free resources to to start here and end here, so students are feeling like they're coming out of school with the skills that businesses need and can build those CVs with the in the language that businesses are speaking as well. So that's what I would see as the biggest opportunity at the moment.
And that is so true. We hear that every year in the Youth Voice Census. We ask young people about what skills they think they have and what skills they think employers are looking for, and they're never the same. And it's really interesting, because as soon as particularly they get to sort of 18, 19 and they might be looking for work, actually they're just ticking all the skills. They're like, actually, it feels like to them that employers need every single skill to be able to do it. But they also then seem to think that actually what employers are looking for is someone who can listen and lead and not problem solve or be curious or be creative in some of those moments too. So there really is that sense of kind of expectation versus reality, as young people kind of start sitting in front of employers and think, gosh, they told me at school I should be all these things. It doesn't feel like that language is what I hear then in those moments. We are hearing a lot from young people and from the education community around some of the kind of wider well-being or pastoral care. That we will see a rise in young people, for example, that need extra time or special arrangements in terms of exams and assessments, and thinking about that, how then that might play into kind of interviews and employability too. Emma, if we can stay with you, just thinking about some of those wider skills. Every year in the Youth Voice Census, young people wish they had more life skills, and I feel like you were named after that, geniusly, but they wish they had kind of more well-being, more finance, more digital skills. How is that kind of built into the curriculum? Is it built in terms of your curated journeys? Is all of that kind of considered and built in? Is that accessible for kind of teachers and career leaders to understand the different needs?
Yeah, it is, but we do also have a separate wellbeing toolkit which spans across it all. So that's that. I'll drop that into the. Well, I can email it out afterwards. But ultimately, wellbeing, finances, employability—they're also intrinsically linked. So I think if you were just looking at the financial side, for example, we don't want young people to come out of school feeling like the wellbeing and financial stress are not working very well. So it's how can we set them up with the right financial capability skills? That's so they know what jobs they're aspiring to, what jobs they can get, and how they can then manage their money as part of that, and so they've got those, like, they're developing those aspirations to get to those jobs. I think that's ultimately, so they've got this pathway right the way through. So I think because they're so all intrinsically linked, our curated journey is very much set up in that way. So it builds and builds. So they're they feel like they're developing, and they've got these skills that they can really shout about. And then the well-being hopefully will be really boosted, because they've got that confidence to feel like that they can go and get those jobs.
And MC, that sounds like something that's been kind of fundamentally built into the cash programs you were talking about earlier too. Has that been a core part of designing programs at NCFE?
Absolutely, yeah. I think thinking about the wider challenges, obviously, as you mentioned, with the cash programs and with all our qualifications, really, it is about looking at what individuals need, how to set them up, how to equip them. It's not just about the learning content of the individual program itself. It's everything around that as the package. And I think as educators on the call, this will be right in their wheelhouse already. But learning and development, as much as possible, being learner-centric. It should be a holistic wraparound offer. It's never just about the one course. It's about everything else that comes with it, the life skills, the transferable skills, and basically everything in between. And a lot of that is the confidence and the ability for young people to identify what it is they currently have and how to get to where they want to be. And it sounds like a really simple thing when you say it that way, but for those young people who are experiencing that, it really isn't. And I think also is thinking about the bigger issues. I think, Emma, you just mentioned about, NEET provision, for example, or people who are not in work, education and training. And it was Youth Employment UK. I think you guys I was looking at back in, I think March, might have been May, the last figures. And the numbers have gone down slightly, but they're still really worryingly high, the number of young people who aren't in any kind of educational training. I think it was about 12.5% we were looking at that point for 16 to 24s. And it's a huge number. And it's thinking about what are the barriers to those individuals. It's not just about a blanket solution, give them these particular resources, that will resolve the issue. It's about thinking about where are these barriers, why are they there, and what's the root cause of that? How do we get back behind that to actually start identifying how to resolve that, how to help with that? We did a report, part of our Assessment Innovation Fund, working on, it's called the Really Neat Project, and it was looking at some of those barriers, but there's still so much more work needs to be done across the industry in trying to actually help these people before it becomes an issue for them, before they are stuck and unable to get any further forward. And similarly with digital, 1 in 5 people lack digital capabilities. In our recent report, no one left offline. And that's not just the older demographic, as some people might assume, it's young people as well. Those particular skills. So there are very specific and niche barriers that we need to have a better understanding of to be able to tap into, I think, as an industry.
Excellently put. Yes, you are right in terms of whilst the last NEET figures did reduce, actually the long-term trend is that they're rising. 923,000 young people who are currently NEET, 16 to 18, and as you were saying, MCT, the really worrying trend of being NEET earlier. So you shouldn't be NEET between 16 and 18. And I know I say that to a group of educators who are going, it's not true, and we know it's not true, but actually being NEET is starting earlier because of kind of access to pathways and support and information. And I know across the education system, I think sometimes the frustration that's sort of heaped back at education that they're not doing something. And actually, some of that is unfair. It's not that the education system isn't doing something. It is because actually once young people leave education, it's really hard to find them again. And so it is kind of by default kind of coming in earlier in education to make that happen too. We are learning much more about that group of NEET young people as well. 50% of NEET young people have never had a job of those 90 plus. So we're actually starting to understand the inflows and outflows if young people have never been in work, and if they haven't, and actually if they never work, it is so much, if they've never had any opportunities in any job, it's so much harder to, which is why we kind of come in so strongly, so early, to be able to link those opportunities together too. It's why it's so important for us to be able to do and have. Marie, did you want to add anything to that, particularly kind of around some of the more specialist resources you might have in terms of kind of supporting those target groups?
Yeah, I think what's come out really clearly from colleagues is this: you can't do this as a silo, can you? And I mentioned the internal leadership review. What that does is encourage education leaders to think, how are we supporting young people to make aspirational, informed decisions, effective and sustained transitions, and be careers ready? Now, they sound really simple. I think MZU said it like, oh, that's easy to do, but it's not. That's a whole young person development. So this is not just about good careers education. This is about, having sound mental health and well-being, being able to navigate, being able to be in a position to access interviews and go through processes and things like that. So we're really kind of encouraging head teachers, education leaders to kind of think strategically as an institution and think, how is careers part of the solution around NEET prevention? How can it be unlocked to be part of that solution? So there's some really interesting kind of, and I've heard colleagues talk about it today, how do you make sure your provision is responsive? How are you looking at data effectively? But you cannot do that as one individual person in an institution. So that distributed leadership for careers, the milestones that are set within your as a provider, as a college, as a school, who's looking at that data? Then what's happening to the provision, and not just the careers provision. There can't just be one person on the hook for all of this. So yeah, I think that's where our work is really going. And then, as you say, we have got that kind of tailored provision. Once you know what that barrier is, I think MZU spoke really eloquently about it. Like, once you can understand the barrier, then it's accessing the right resource for the young people and potentially for the parents and carers as well.
Brilliant. And I can't end a session, it doesn't feel like I can end any session or be part of any session without talking about AI and new technology at the moment, because everybody is fearful. And I think I was at something the other day, and actually AI has created more jobs at the moment than it has displaced. As part of that moment, it's doing okay for the time being, but keen to understand, and it might just be anecdotal, you might have a new product, a new service yet too, but how you're seeing AI used in those learning environments. I know from a Youth Employment UK perspective, Olivia and I were talking about kind of how we see more young people are using AI and new technology. In the census this year, 65% have used AI in the last 12 months. It was 48% last year. And I know we've had conversations with young people about sort of knowing there are fears around what it might do, but actually what young people are using it for is for fun, is to ask questions. Some are using it for their homework, particularly in the West Midlands for some reason. Some are using it for their homework, and sort of that's okay. But they aren't using it advantageously to ask about skills, to think about jobs, to think creatively. So have you seen any good examples of that, Marie, or any of the careers hubs doing anything in and around that, or kind of how can education kind of leaders on the, like, how do we expect that to change the system? Are there any good products that exist out there to help? Who am I going to pick on first? Everyone looks pretty terrified. Marie, you unmuted. I saw it for a second. Do you want to come in?
I had a feeling it might come to me. I think it's interesting. We do know that young people are starting tentatively they're more likely to use AI, for career opportunities. So it's really interesting to hear, that they're using it more for fun. But we know particularly that careers advice and careers planning. So our perspective on it is kind of, again, from that side with careers leaders in mind. We're really thinking more about how are we, if AI is transforming how young people engage with career planning, how are we kind of thinking about how AI and technology can make careers provision more responsive, more personalised? So I think where my head went first was more around that digital infrastructure that we've got, and how are we spotting trends? How are we kind of, as leaders, and when we're planning, when we're trying to be strategic and achieve more for less, how are we thinking about trends, insights, triangulating between data sets? So my head again went more into the kind of planning things. So yeah, and I think the updated benchmarks do encourage us to be more data kind of efficient, if you like, and be a bit more savvy. But that's where my head went with that question.
And it might be an online thing. Emma, I'm going to come to you next. And I mean, everyone talks about AI, and it is digital infrastructure. But I am really keen to understand the withdrawal of LMI for all and the funding in it too, and what we're going to do and how we're going to use new technology to kind of ensure that benchmark is still met. But Emma, come in on digital AI, new technology, and some of the work that LifeSkills will be doing to support that.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's huge opportunities. As I say, I think it's something we're all exploring at the moment. So particularly from our perspective, we're working out how can AI really help with websites, so careers leads, educators can really feel like they're getting what they need out of websites in the most tailored way, and building their curriculum in the way that they need to support their learners. So I think for us, that's one of the biggest opportunity. You plug into the website what you want, and it will come up with, trusted content, quality content on what we can provide with that tailored journey. That would be amazing if we could do that, but it's very early days. But also there's that opportunity in terms of, we will be looking at that insight and how we can really support with what's out there, what are the up and coming jobs, and how can the skills link to that. But alongside anything to do with AI, regardless of what jobs young people go into, it is still back to that set of like key core transferable skills which will work across any job. You will still need some element of human intervention regardless of what AI is doing.
Yes, brilliant. I was just replying to something similar to Sana in the chat here too, asking whether AI will replace jobs such as counsellors. We have seen, and EastEnders doing the most at the moment with work on AI and apprenticeships. I don't know if you've probably got no EastEnders fans here, and I'm okay with being the only one. That's okay too. But around young people using AI as that's that kind of safe space to talk to, I think it is interesting. We all know and value that trusted quality careers advisor. All of these tools are brilliant, but they can't work in isolation. It needs a human that can work with and understand that in person to pull a program together that works too. So we should be using it to our advantage where we can, but never to replace a human being. Emzy, have you got something to add to that too?
Sorry, I was just replying to the chat there.
Too busy.
Yeah, it's a really interesting one. That I'm hearing that quite a lot from young people using AI in that way. So more as sort of a support network, like a counsellor. And also, really interestingly, I've heard a lot of young people are using AI instead of Google. So rather than using it as a search engine, they're immediately just going asking, because you're not then getting pages of results, you're getting a direct answer. But in that, you've also got the risk as well, because it has an authoritative tone, and because it sounds as though this is the response. There's no additional background reading going on. Whereas with Google, learners would at least have a look at a few different resources probably and sort of say, oh, well, this website says this. With AI, it's presented as the right option and the only option. So I'm not saying I'm not a fan of AI. I think it definitely has a place. And I think if we were having this conversation even 2 years ago, it was very much about how do we prevent AI in things like assessment, learners writing assessments and them not using their own work, and plagiarism concerns. But we were involved in a study last year which looked at a number of different scripts and put them in completely blank and had a look to see if AI could be detected. Some subjects are very easy, some subjects not so much. And a lot of it was to do with how confident the writing was, and the sort of the scripts and the intonations and things like that. So I think there's definitely a place for AI. I think we're past the position where we can say we can't use it and we can't integrate it. We have to embrace it. It's about how we can do it in a way that supports learners and the way that they want to use it. rather than saying you can't have it at all, because there's always going to be a workaround. So always going to be a way around that for them.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, so true. Olivia, did you want to come in on anything we've had recently, particularly from our youth ambassadors, about AI and jobs and real concerns they might have?
Yeah, it has been interesting chatting to them recently about kind of their thoughts about it. And I mean, our youth ambassadors are very insightful, so that's why I love talking to them about these sorts of things. But they kind of, similar to what Emily said, like they are, and what everyone said really, like young people are kind of treading that fine line, and that they know to be wary of it, they know to take it with a pinch of salt, but they do find it really, really helpful and really useful. And this whole switch of, we've had conversations about them saying that they do use it as a search engine now. That's kind of the natural progression. But I mean, our youth ambassadors, especially, also, they're all very career driven, and they're all very passionate about kind of progressing themselves in that way. So they do use it to their advantage in that sense. And that's hopefully something that we can learn from. And like, young people will maybe start to teach us how they are using it and how is the best way to take it forward. I think it's good that young people seem to still be maybe slightly wary of it, and they are kind of aware that, they are potentially the generation that could be affected in terms of it affecting jobs and things like that. So I think it's one of those things that we need to continue to be really led by young people of how they're using it and how they think is the best way for it to be used going forward. I think is probably we should follow their lead, I think.
Yeah, I think we'll all be updating all of our resources with just that link. I don't think it will be long before we have like ChatGPT, others available, but like ChatGPT prompt questions at the end of like assignments or any of those things too, like how you might get that working and moving within there too. Gosh, I've overrun and talked about EastEnders, so what a week it is at Youth Employment UK as we celebrate Youth Employment Week in full. And in those moments, I just want to take a moment to share a thank you to all of our speakers today. And I just want to, one more moment, bring up our sponsors of Youth Employment Week, who allow us to not just make Youth Employment Week happen, but their support allows us to continue to make all of these resources free for those in and on the call. I do want to say, whilst this session, I know there was a question in the chat from Ken, whilst this session today focused on schools and colleges, our programs and resources are designed to be accessible to use for multiple people. If you are an independent training provider, if you're thinking, oh, I might sit on the cusp of some of these kind of traditional learning environments, come and talk to us about how you can utilize our services. They've been made to be kind of amenable and flexible in all of those moments. I do want to thank you for your time today and the generosity of our sponsors and speakers who have kind of kindly shared so much of the time. We'll share the slides in the chat, and I'll also share a link to some of the work that Movement to Work are doing at the moment with young people around AI. We won't keep going into it, but you are right, there are lots of young people, Olivia, who find it really accessible, but it will be one of those things for those neat young people or those without, that it continues to hold them back onto. Some really great programs that we have helped support that I'll make, share and happen. Thank you all again so much for your time.